Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a great friend of mine, Chris Colt, and we are going to jump into some really exciting things. And I think one of the biggest patterns we see when companies start hitting growth ceilings isn't usually a marketing problem. It's more of a systems problem.
Yeah.
And we see founders they're chasing the latest and greatest new funnels and tactics and growth hacks, trying to fix something that actually is probably lying a little bit deeper in the business. And the marketing might be working, but the infrastructure behind that growth wasn't necessarily built to absorb it. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. So, my guest today is Chris Colt, who is the founder of the Challenge Champion. And he has spent more than 25 years in sales and entrepreneurship and has built multiple businesses that have scaled past those multi-million dollar amounts and has helped entrepreneurs design those scalable growth systems. And so today we're talking about something a lot of founders are probably starting to realize is that shift from funnels. While funnels aren't dead, but there's blind funnel resilience that is. So I'm really excited to hop into this and talk to you, Chris, about it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, Christy, for this conversation. It's going to be a great conversation today.
Yeah. So if you want to just share a little bit about, your background, how you got started into what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background actually started in corporate sales. I spent you mentioned it, over 25 plus years selling into large companies. And during that time, I actually got a front row seat into how organizations actually build predictable growth systems. Then about 9 years ago, I transitioned into entrepreneurship, and I noticed something that surprised me. Many smart founders were struggling, not because they lacked expertise, but because their business was built on activities that don't scale. So when I look at activities that don't scale, that's things like referrals, constant content out on social media, and then, endless one-on-one sales calls. Those kind of things just don't scale how most people think they do. And eventually you hit a ceiling. I mean, this happened to me also on my entrepreneur journey that we'll talk about. But what really fascinated with me when I took a look back at my own personal situation is I looked at how large companies organized themselves. They built systems. They had this really designed. So I started helping entrepreneurs design growth systems that allowed them to reach more people at scale, essentially. Mm-hmm. So what we did for that was immersive, transformative virtual events. So I like to talk about like 5-day challenges, master classes, things that actually create community and give transformation to people. Yeah. And it all started with my own personal burnout, right? I think everything that we find in life starts with something we dealt with in life.
So it's the hard lesson we had to learn.
Yeah, but I'm grateful for that hard lesson, and we'll uncover it as we go through that. But for me, when I left corporate America, I was doing endless one-on-one sales calls to fill. At the time, I was helping people with LinkedIn on really how to leverage LinkedIn and use it as a conversion mechanism for new clients. But I got to a point, I was landing new clients consistently, so good problem to have. But then I always had to fill my calendar with new appointments. And you know how that goes. You get 10 people on your calendar, yep. 5 show up, maybe 1 or 2 become clients, right? And I had a service clients at the same time. And it was just this rinse and repeat mechanism that was just draining, burnout. I mean, I was fried. I was like, all right, it's time to go back to a job. Then what ended up happening, out of the blue, I was invited to what they call a 5-day challenge. I had no clue what it was, but I was like, you know what? I see what this looks like. I'm going to go check it out. And what I started realizing is what this person was doing is they had a system in place that was allowing for a lot of good content, transformation for people, good education, bringing people together. And it all clicked. I was like, wow, this is a great mechanism to not only land clients, but nurture my existing clients. So I actually hired the person as a coach, right? I said, hey, what you just did here, I know that's not your offer out of this challenge, but can you show me how you did this? Worked with them. I designed a 5-day challenge for my LinkedIn offering, and it all clicked on the first one. I had 30 people attend that paid me, right? So these people attended.
Which is even better.
Yeah, they actually put money across the line, right? People pay attention to what they pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And I all of a sudden gave them an opportunity to continue onward, because I call offers opportunities, because that's what you're really providing people. And now people started checking out. Yeah, I'm in. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't have to have all these endless one-on-one calls. So I continued, Christy, just doing this for myself. I was like, you know what? This is the way I'm going to always get my clients. It's fun. It's interactive. People know enough about me by the time they decide to work with me. But what happened is I had a CEO of a company come in and he said, hey, Chris, I think it was my third challenge. I'll put my whole sales team in your LinkedIn program, but you see what you did this week? I have no clue how you were able to keep me live 5 days in a row for an hour a day because I'm a very busy person, but I really
Yeah.
grasp what you're doing. So he asked me to build him a challenge for his company. And that's really where the challenge champion became born. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And like I'm an endurance cyclist. When I take a look back and look at business, I use a lot of endurance cycling around it, right? One of the races, and you might be able to see it here behind me, but this is the schematic of it. I did the hardest mountain bike race in North America, the Leadville 100. It's
Oh
grueling.
yeah.
It's up at high altitude.
Mhm.
It's a brutal race. I did extremely well in it. But what I learned through doing endurance sports like that is it taught me that the brute force does not get you to a finish line. If you try to muscle through an entire race, the reality is you're going to blow up at some point and you're done. So
Yeah.
those riders that finish, they build, they pace, they fuel correctly, and they have a strategy and a mindset. And entrepreneurship is the same way. And we're going to uncover this as we talk a little more today. But what I see most founders trying to do right now is to sprint a marathon,
Oh
which
yeah.
means more calls, more posts, more hustle. But the people who build something sustainable, they design a system. This is what I talked about a little bit earlier, that actually allows them to keep moving forward without that burnout. So that's really what work I do today. I help experts, coaches, and consultants move from a model that depends on constant selling into a system that attracts and converts those high-end clients more predictably. So that's what we're going to talk about a little
Yeah.
bit.
No,
I'll give you this one tip before we go into,
yeah.
a lot of people always ask me the question, how do you build attention in this marketplace? Attention's easy to get because you got all this different thing. What is really what you want is authority, because that's actually what converts. And that's what we'll start to talk a little bit more about today, Christy.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And you see how many times founders think they have a growth problem, and really it's just the systems underneath
Yeah.
it that are causing all of that. And I even see that on the financial side. When the numbers stop making sense, it's rarely because an opportunity disappeared. It's more, hey, we didn't have our systems created, and now our numbers aren't aligning anymore because of that. And
Yeah.
it's that same part on a marketing side.
Yeah.
When you've seen that, how often with all the founders that you've worked for, they kind of get hung up on, we have a growth problem, not a systems problem?
Oh, I see. People, that's what they always try to say. Hey,
So
we
they
got a
all,
growth
yeah.
problem. And I'm like, okay, well, explain what you're doing. And then when we start to uncover it, it's like, well, let's just look at, like, one of the questions I always ask people is, how many one-on-one sales calls do you have to do before you actually land a client? And it's kind of scary that a lot of people don't know that number. They're like, let me go pull that up. Because that's one of the biggest data-driven things you need to understand. Okay, 5 calls, 1 client. Good. That's what we can work from and improve upon. So that's one of the things. But then when people do know the question, I'm like, okay, what are you doing to actually, like, how are you finding that client that you landed in? Explain that. And that's where it gets really interesting. Hey, we do this, we do that, we do this. So I'm like,
Oh
all right.
yeah,
So
it's like all over the place.
yeah, you're throwing spaghetti on the wall and a couple things trickle. That's what worked. And reality is, why not just build a system that consistently works? And that's where people haven't really gotten into it deep enough to really prove that things work. And that's where I try to help people out.
Yeah. Well, and you've probably seen too, because I have this on with people I've worked with, is they may have created a light system to start, and then they've actually, that's even not even aligned with the business. Not that they've outgrown it, but it was just the foundation of it was never made properly from day one. And I've seen people think, oh, well, we made a system, it didn't work, so we're throwing that out. We don't need it. And I'm like, no, you really do. I promise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
All the time. I think when we think about like the funnels, I mean, the last decade or so, we've been told that funnels are the answer to everything. Everywhere we gone. I mean, I've been to conferences about funnel hacking live when Russell Brunson did all of that. Yep. And when I've talked to a lot of business owners too, they don't feel like that playbook is necessarily working for them like it did. Remember, it was always so huge on the evergreen and, hey, we're going to save you time. We'll record this once and we'll keep playing this. What are you seeing happening when entrepreneurs are looking at funnels right now?
I have a lot on this topic, so we can spend a lot of time here if you really want to.
Perfect.
Before I get to, I'm going to share, a book. You probably can't see this, but The Experience Economy. Okay.
Okay.
This is the world we're in. People like experiences before they go buy something. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to use a simple example. I'm a cyclist. I mentioned that, right? If I get out there, and it's not a plug for Trek, but I'm going to use Trek as a simple example. If Trek is at one of my favorite mountain biking places that I go, and they're having a demo day, and I get to go out and ride some of the bikes I'm really looking at and get to get that feeling and see how they really are. And if I'm in buying mode, guess what normally happens at the end of that? Well, I just got
You're
to
going to
ride
make a
this for an hour.
purchase.
Here you go. Here's my credit card. So this is the world we're in. Create experiences for people where you can give them transformation, where you can give them value, and quite frankly, where they get to know what Chris is like, what Christy is like before they actually really go all in with you. Because when you can do that, you can provide transformation to people. You can do a lot of different amazing things. So funnels, I don't want to say they're dead, but blind, like just blindly relying on them, that's dead. So what I've seen, a lot of people, you mentioned Russell Brunson and all them, great, amazing. I've been in some of their programs, but a lot of people that have had success with that is because advertising was cheap back in the day. So that's why things worked. Attention was a lot easier to capture back in the day. Now that's changed a lot.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a different world. And let's be real. We're in what I call a trust recession. So audiences now are much more skeptical than they were in the back.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm seeing happen right now when I work with clients. People are overwhelmed with funnels. Every single ad looks the same. I can go on to, I'll just use Facebook, for example, and I swear every ad coming at me is almost the same color, the same look. So I don't even hit them anymore. Every landing page is starting to look the same. And trust, it to me, in the industry we're in, is the biggest currency you can have out there. So how can you build that? So what I like to say is, we're seeing this shift right now that goes from transactional funnels, like you talked about the evergreen models, and these things worked.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. They were, but now this experience, this is the growth system, right? So examples, this is what used to work. A lead magnet into a webinar, into a sales call.
Yep.
Okay. It still works in some shape or forms, but the people having success with that are doing very, very high volume numbers. So what I'm seeing high performing founders doing today are setting up masterclasses, 60-minute events that are much more interactive and give more transformation than just a sales pitch, because that's really what a webinar was.
They want to feel that day, the day in the life experience, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Another thing I see working really good, you've probably seen challenges over the years, like 3 and 5 day challenges. The reason those work is you get people into your world, you can give them transformation. And quite frankly, you can get them to a point that they have confidence in themselves that they'll implement. And when that happens, boom, that's where the next level comes. And then you've seen micro communities build over the years. Micro communities are huge.
Oh, and they're so fun too, because you didn't actually get that opportunity before, and now you do. I mean, going back real quick to your challenges, Alex Hermosi, what was it? He did that with school. Was it last year? Yeah. He had that big one, and hey, you get this, and here's the big prize, and it's pretty awesome. And like, I've been part of little micro communities and made some amazing friends out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what happens in all these things I mentioned, the challenges, the micro communities, these master classes, you're bringing, cycling term here, the Peloton together, right? You're bringing a Peloton together. You're letting them experience something together. But what happens is this creates trust and, quite frankly, authority for yourself faster, because people get to see it in action. People start to feel, oh my gosh, Christy's getting transformation. Steve's getting transformation. I'm feeling transformation. I don't want to leave this group. How do I stay in it? So this is what is working today. And people want live, real people to deal with, right? Yeah. They want to get in that environment because, people have told me, virtual events are dead. They don't work. I'm like, why don't you come into some of the ones we're doing? Because people are like, wow, these are completely different than what I've been on. So I love doing this. I love helping people really just get their message out faster and build the authority and, quite frankly, the system that they need.
Yeah. Well, and it's so fun to be able to start shifting to a different, like, more modern, I would say, growth system. And like, hey, what is it going to look like? We see bits and pieces of it today, but how is that going to continually transform? And I kind of think about an article I read the other day where it said, hey, Gen Z is like bringing back the malls because they like to go there and see, touch, feel the experience, where we've all been programmed, I guess, to say, hey, just buy it online. You don't need to see the fabric, experience, trying the dress on or whatnot, and how they're bringing it back. And I think, oh, that's so much more fun, because how many times, and you probably did this even as a youth, you're with your friends, you go to the mall, you're eating pretzels, trying on clothes, just having fun. And I think you're starting to see that even in the business world of, I want to experience what it's like to work with this program or this coach. I can't just watch a video and say, all right, I'm in.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And, a lot of people use this lazy model of, hey, the evergreen stuff works because, people don't have time to do this stuff. I'll tell you, if somebody's serious about solving a problem, they have time to attend something. Your mission is to find the person with the problem that's at that point. That's what you have to work through.
It is. And I would say even on the finance side with some of my clients, I'll see founders, they want to push growth so quickly. So it would be, let's just get this evergreen out because it's quick, it's easy, and then I can go do something over here. And then they start to feel burned out because it's kind of like going back to your races. You're just trying to fight through and finish this without having the real strategy behind it. And then that leads to chaos when you don't. And then you're not doing anything well. And it's like, oh, well, now my profits are down. My team is upset with me. What do I do? And it's like, okay, founder, like, let's start looking at all of this, the red signals here that are just going off like crazy of, let's pull it all back in and come to what is the best strategy to put into play.
Yeah, scaling chaos. That's what you were just talking about. That's brutal.
It comes up more often than I think people want to talk about.
No, it does. I mean, I when I talk to new potential clients, when they actually really open up, it's like, that sounds kind of chaotic. Yeah, that's why I'm talking to you, Chris. How do we take that chaos and make it go to one? Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and you've probably seen it too with, some of these more high performing entrepreneurs. I think there's kind of two different sets of entrepreneurs. You have ones that are like, let's get in, let's go. And they're, endurance times 100 million here. Like, I will run up this hill, even if I have no breath to breathe. And others that don't. But what are some of the biggest mistakes, founders are making when they start to scale that you're seeing?
I think, well, the first one we kind of just talked about it is scaling chaos, obviously, right? Jumping from tactic to tactic to tactic. Oh, these 4 things work. Let's just do a hybrid of all 4 of them, right? That just gets chaotic. That's systems that you got to manage that are just flowing. That's just a mess. And things aren't predictable in that world.
Yeah.
The next thing I see is, this is a big one right now, selling your expertise instead of the outcomes. People want transformation. They want to know when they buy something, okay, this is where I started. Here's where I'm going to get. Right. So that is big. I see a lot of, right now, especially a lot of people positioning themselves as helpful instead of authoritative.
Yes.
So what do I mean by that? Like, here's some things, and you can go on any social platform. You'll see something like this. Hey, I help entrepreneurs grow. That is really, really vague.
That's great.
Yeah, like anybody. Okay, great. You're going to get skimmed past.
Yeah.
So authority is something like this. Like, I help B2B consultants replace one-on-one selling with scalable client acquisition events, right? That clarity starts to attract the buyer. That's where people start to tune in. So if you're listening to this, the more you can tune in to speak your authority, the easier it's going to be. The other thing that I see that's really big, Christy, is, now if you have a sales team, this can work. This is scalable. There's no denying this. But if you don't have a big sales team, too many one-on-one sales conversations. I lived that world for too long. All right. And that just gets brutal if you don't have people supporting you on that. So if you have to be on a call every single day to land a client, something is really broken there. So what I see high performers doing is doing the one-to-many model, right? Look at, you used Alex Hormozy.
Yeah, he's great at that.
Perfect example. Russell Brunson. Perfect example. I mean, I can just go down the list and list and list. So if they're doing it, why aren't you doing it? That's one of the biggest things. And then the other thing, I talked about this book, right? I'll say it again, The Experience Economy. I don't get paid for pitching it. It's just something that really resonated with me. But that builds trust, what I talked about, when you have experiences. So a lot of people, a lot of companies I see don't have a trust building mechanism in place. So let's just be real. Nobody's going to buy from you until they trust you. That's
exactly. Yeah.
So the fastest way, we've been talking about it a little bit, is build those scalable live experiences. The more you can get people in your world. Why do people, I love the virtual event world, but why do people do live in-person events too?
Hmm.
Guess what? You get a group together, everybody's on the same mission, and they get to build relationship. They get to experience things. That's what it's
Oh
all about
yeah.
in this
I went
marketplace.
to a couple of those last year, and it's so fun by the end of it. And you got, like
Yeah.
you said, everybody's there for the same reason, and then you have the ability afterwards talk and brainstorm and see what comes from that. I actually found a client that way, and then it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't, like, being around other people. This is what, especially in AI right now, like people cloning
Oh, I
themselves.
know.
Like, it's kind of crazy. And I know somebody's going to listen to this. Oh, the AI clones work.
Right.
I would love to really see that, because I talk to more and more founders who get so turned off by that. They're like, I
Mhm.
want a human being. I want the person.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder where that's all going to go. But that's a whole different can of worms we won't open up
I
right
know.
now.
I think the same thing too. I think real briefly, it's like there's parts of technology that are really, really good. And then there's others that it takes away that experience that you don't get because essentially it's a robot doing it and we want human interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. But I would say with all of what you mentioned too, there's so much time and money that gets tied up too in these mistakes. Because if they're throwing every direction, all of these things, you just think about how much time has been wasted building something that isn't the right model, or it's the newest trend, or I see a lot of clients, oh, I talked to my buddy, they're doing this, so I should do this too. I'm like,
Yep.
but you're in totally different markets. It doesn't make sense to do the same thing. And now they're out X dollars and all this time that their team has spent, or even themselves, to get to where they need to be.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then it's like coming back to the finance side, which, that's my world. You start seeing the burden then on the cash flow because now you're spending X dollars here and here. And,
Yep.
growth looks good on paper, but if you don't have those systems behind it, then you can't deliver. And it's the same thing for you. They can go design all these things in the background, but if it's not implemented properly, it's just a great idea.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. If a founder was listening right now and wanted to design a growth system that actually scales, what would be maybe three key components they should put into place?
Yeah. I mean, I might end up with 4 or 5, but we'll
Go
see.
for it.
I mean, the one thing is a clear positioning, right? People have to know, okay, this person can help me. It has to speak right to that person. And people get afraid when I tell them this. Well, I'm going to go a little general. I'm going to tell you, the more you narrow that down to who you help, the easier it's going to be to land clients. And then, quite
Yes.
frankly, the easier it is for other people to refer clients to. So
And
who you help.
why do people get afraid of that? Because I've had that myself. When I first started out my business, I went wide. I'm like, oh, that's going to be the best. And I'd start to narrow down. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Nothing's coming in like it was. And
Yeah.
it's silly.
I mean, I don't know why people fear it, because I went through the same process. Though I think we go through all these things on our own, right? And then you get to a point
Yeah.
you could talk about it. But when I finally just dialed down, this is these are the individuals I help. Here's here's the problem I solve for them, right? That's number 2, and then what outcome I create for them. It
Mhm.
got a lot easier to have conversations, and I never felt like I had to sell. It was like, hey, here's your problem. Here's exactly how I'm going to help you get to that finish line. Now it's up to you if this makes sense for you, if you really want to solve
Mhm.
it. So to answer your question, the first one is, the clearer your positioning, the easier it is.
Yeah.
Then the second one I would say is an authority mechanism. I talked about challenges, master classes, workshops, community building, whatever can bring people into your world that you can highlight your authority and how you can help them. And that
Mhm.
always comes through an experience, because part of your authority is what kind of experience do you give people when they're with you? That's something they look at. So I like to have that in place. Then trust building, this ties into that authority engine. When I talk about master classes, challenges, and that, people must see you in action. They
Yeah.
want to know how you work and how you operate. So content is great. I see people saying, oh, I'm just going to show that on LinkedIn and Facebook and all. That's great, but it's not real interaction. You've got to take those people that do interact with you on those platforms into your world,
Mhm.
into that experience. And then it's real simple. When you have all that in place, just have a conversion pathway, right? Guide them into whatever is next. So when you have all these pieces together, it gets a lot easier. So one call to action. I see too many founders, like when they have an event or they do something, they have 9 calls to action. Confusion never creates
Never.
friction. So it's got
Yeah.
to be one call to action on whatever you do. Doesn't mean, Christy, if you and I are talking and I might have a group program offer, it doesn't mean you might not ask me on the side, hey, Chris, love the group idea, but can I work with you one-on-one? See it all the time. So one call to action on whatever you're doing on anything in this day and age.
Yeah. No, it's I kind of think about the overwhelming of options that people get to. And I don't know if you've ever read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember he talks about that in there in one of the chapters. It was a hospital, and they were asking too many things, and they weren't picking out when the person actually was having a heart attack. They were sending them home, and they had to come up. Let's narrow this down to 3 key points to ask, and then that let them know, hey, keep them or send them home. And there's so much in there of how people get overwhelmed if there's too many decision points to make. And sometimes you even see that in how people have built funnels in the past. It's like click here and then click here, click here. Is this you? Is this not you? And you're like, I'm tired of clicking buttons.
Mm-hmm.
I just want something a little more simple.
Oh, I could tell you when it comes to like, however, landing page and all that are designed, like
Yeah.
no matter what, you just have to have the one call to action. And the sooner the call to action is there, the better, because if you have your outcome really designed well, people won't read the rest of the page. I know most people don't believe me on that, but we have all the stats. It's like, oh, this is what this is going to do. Boom, boom. Okay, I sign up in, right?
You're like
That's what
done.
people want, right to the point. The ones that need more information, because if somebody's listening to that, it's still going to be below on the landing page. You can go read it. But I can tell you from stats I've seen on my personal pages and most clients, pretty much the top quarter, if that, of the pages as far as anybody goes, and then they're in.
Well, remember when funnel hacking and all that started being so popular? Some of those landing pages, I mean, you would scroll for days. I'm like, who even wrote this? And I was always curious when I was scrolling through, is this even anything, or is it like lore ipsum type filler writing and you wouldn't know until you got to the bottom?
Yeah. It is crazy. I mean, some of the landing pages I've seen today, I remember just for kicks, I would just turn and scroll. I'm like, holy, who can write all this stuff and make it sound different? And then I just started seeing this shift, and all of a sudden, short and to the point. I'm like, of course, this is the world we live in. Give me that information really, really quickly.
Yeah, because the attention span has been sucked where it's seconds now, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. And I read a lot, and there was something on there. It's like, hey, remember back in the day when you had dial-up internet, you had to be so patient for it to connect. And now if a landing page doesn't load in 2 seconds, we're like, oh, okay, next one.
Yep. You lost me.
It's so crazy on that. But yeah, but like looking ahead over this next year, next couple of years, where do you think founders should start focusing their energy when it comes to the growth?
Yeah, I mean, some of this, what I've been saying, I'll just stress on it, just because this is what I work on with clients
Yeah.
so much, is authority. Where can you create authority over attention? Because attention's cheap. Authority is valuable. So look at the places that you really can create authority in your environment, become known for that one thing, become known as that person, and give as much as you can in that. The more you create authority, the easier this is going to get. Like I said, we're talking about funnels here. How can you make that an experience-based funnel, right? So people are going to buy faster when you do this, when they have shared learning experiences, live teaching, engagement, and transformation. And then the other thing I just say, focus on systems that remove bottlenecks, right? The best businesses that I see remove the founder from the constant selling process of this. That shift many founders, it shifts them away right now. So if you can do that, that's going to be the easiest thing to do. Some of the 7 and 8 figure earners I've worked with, they're still doing they do the 5-day challenge. They do the master classes, right? That's when you get them. But then when it comes to wanting to go to the next step, they have a team involved in that part of things. So they'll do the one-to-many model to get their message out, get the right people in. And then if people need further conversations, they're working with their sales team in that scenario.
Yeah. No, and it's great. I think it goes back to with the systems, like not just having that little system that, hey, this is the route we're going to go with, however our funnel, but it's involving the rest of the team too. And how do they play in this space to make it all flow correctly? Because the founder could be the bottleneck in a lot of ways, and normally is, but also sometimes there's various teams that are, because they haven't been communicated clearly what their path is and how they interact with it. And so they're just, I don't know, here I am. And you told me you wanted to do a sales call, but then you told me you didn't. How do you want me to take care of this for you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it's so important to bring that whole part into however the system is designed. So yeah. And I mean, but I think bottlenecks, they're everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter what part of the business you're looking at, it's every single part of it. And we're always going to be working on, hey, removing one, we're probably adding one somewhere else. And it's just that game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fun. One other question for you. You know how a lot of founders kind of get stuck in the, hey, this is the latest and greatest, or they're chasing the shiny objects when it comes. What is your advice to people that like to chase those shiny objects? And you see this a lot in marketing because
I see it all the time. I mean,
yeah.
Even with my own clients, like, yeah, hey, we got this system running, and all of a sudden, hey, you ever think about doing this one? I'm like, let's make sure we get this working. Yeah, let's get this working. You set an objective. We're this close to getting this working 100%. So, I mean, listen, we're all, as an entrepreneur, we all have these things that, oh, this is great. This is great. That is great. I always look at something, for me, it's just as simple as this. Every year I have a mission that I'm on. If that potentially could lead to enhancing that mission, I might explore it. But it's going to only be an exploratory thing, because when I'm on a flow or I have clients in a flow, I'm like, let's just stick to this one thing. This is the path we said we'd get there. Let's get any of the messy parts dialed in and fixed, and then get it working. Then when that works, you probably won't be looking at this other thing out there. Especially with AI right now, there's so many things that are just getting thrown at us that everybody thinks they're a magic bullet. And unfortunately, those magic bullets will eat your time, and it's going to cost you in the long run. So I'm always tell clients, be extremely careful with the shiny objects. Get the one object that you decided to work on to work, and then see what you're thinking after that.
Yeah. And that kind of pairs into, because I see this on the technical side, you'll probably see it too, as you're building out and building the architecture for whatever this plan is. What tools do you need to make sure that they integrate? Like your CRM, are you on a CRM that will integrate with the plan that you're moving forward with? Or is that going to have to be scrapped and we got to build something new? And I see this a lot as, which you're familiar with, like Go High Level. A lot of people have migrated off of other tools to a tool like this because it does everything. However, some people are like, yeah, it's great, but it was too complex. We want to just go to like a HubSpot, and that controls our CRM. So when you're helping people kind of put everything together, what are some of those things of, hey, we really need to make sure that the plan that we're going towards, we have those correct marketing tools in place, because otherwise we've done all this hard work for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to look at what type of CRM system you're using. Now, I mean, I personally use Go High Level. I like it, but I have somebody that manages it. It's complex. I mean,
it is.
It needs somebody that knows what they're doing. So I have a friend that he knows it in and out, and hey, here's what I want it to do. Here's what I don't want to think about it. I know how all that tech stuff works personally, and I understand it, but I don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
So you really have to look at, especially the things I'm talking about, right? We're talking about a funnel that's an experience-based funnel. So you're going to need landing pages. You're going to need that tied into automations and all that. So I've seen clients who have 9 different tech systems and they have to get them all working. It gets really sloppy. The closer you can get to ideally one tech system, maybe 2 or 3 that work nicely together, the easier this becomes. So much better. That's just like, I'm not pitching Go High Level, but that's why I like a tool like Go High Level, because there's so much in there that it can do on the fly and very easily. And it integrates with a lot of things.
It does. And I think some of the nice parts is then you're not buying all these, you're not building that best of breed model where you're like, hey, I have 15 different solutions I'm using. It's expensive. It's hard to manage. And if something breaks, now I got to go figure out where it broke and to fix it. And to your point, you're narrowing it down to 1 or maybe 2. It's much easier to manage when something breaks.
Yeah.
Yep. And Go High Level is pretty awesome, all that it does. And I've dabbled in it too. I'm like, it is very complex. I can navigate around, but it is a lot better when there's somebody that is their skill set that they breathe and breathe out all day long to make it easy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Um, if a founder is kind of sitting, and they kind of feel stuck with where they are, and they want to be able to kind of reach out to you and maybe get some advice or, whatever that looks like, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. I mean, from a social media perspective, just find me on LinkedIn. It's Chris Colt. And just if you need to, put thechallengechampion.com or the challenge champion, you'll find me pretty easily. I talk about client acquisitions, scalable growth strategies on there. You can also go to my website, find me anywhere on there, thechallengechampion.com. You'll see upcoming events I have. So I consistently am doing master classes. I do 5-day challenges once a quarter. So you can get in there and I walk founders through on those, how to design their own high value client acquisition system. End of day, Christy, my goal is simple. Help experts stop chasing clients and start building a system that attracts them while building authority. So
Mm-hmm.
to sum it up, thechallengechampion.com is the easiest place to find me. That leads everywhere.
Yeah. No, and I love that part about like what you do. And I think it's something that's so much different from a lot of people that are just, you got to go this way, you got to go this way. And yours is more like, hey, we want to make something that's successful for you. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's one correct system, but you have to build that authority. And we're going to figure out how your audience responds well to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, and I love too just all the systems underneath it, because that's my world and I love it, and I love that you understand that, because so many people, I think there's this gap of, hey, yeah, systems are cool, but just go over this way and it'll just all work out.
Yeah. And then you got to go fix all those, it'll just all work out moments. And that gets
Exactly. You're like, oh, this started out really easy and now we're kind of just ripping everything apart and starting over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for your time. I love the conversation, and I hope everybody got some good bits of information out of it. There's so much with marketing, so I encourage you to reach out to Chris if he'll be able to help you and do whatever you need. But yeah, thanks again so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Christy. It was a
All right.
blast.